So just wait for some more time and then we will start. So today I'm streaming on YouTube as well. Just connected this Zoom with YouTube.
Oh, wow. Cool. Very nice, man.
Yeah,
Good job.
just yeah,
Keep
just
doing
was
it.
yeah, just was trying like how I can do. And here also I'm getting the option to connect with Facebook as well.
Oh, wow. Cool. Very nice.
So and here also we are having option to connect with Facebook as well. There are so many options in Zoom.
Oh, man, that's why Zoom is very popular.
Yeah, really, it's a awesome platform.
Mm,
Everyone is. I've seen most of the people are using the Zoom.
mm.
Mm. Okay, fine. So I'm going to share the screen now, and then we can start now. So please let me know if you're able to see the screen. Is it visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, okay, fine. So uh, now we are good to go. Okay. So let me mute everyone, and whenever you feel like you have any question, you can
Mhm.
just go and uh, unmute yourself. And suppose if you are not able to unmute yourself, just write here in the chat box. I will unmute you.
Hey, one quick question. Uh, Pankaj, where can we pass parameters to constructor?
Yes, we can pass.
Okay.
Constructor is having the importing parameters. Okay,
Mhm.
so
What
while
constructors can do it? Class constructor and a regular constructor?
mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so uh, now let's start now. I'm going to start the recording. Yeah, constructor won't have returning parameter. He's asking, that whether we can pass the value to the constructor. So yes, because constructor is having the importing parameter. So whenever we are going to instantiate any class, we can pass the value. That is possible. So now let's go ahead and let's start from here. I'm going to start the recording now. Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to the ABAP ritual where we are learning VBA interview questions of SAP ABAP, ABAP on HANA, OPS ABAP, ALE IDOCS, OData and a workflow. The reason why I have started this ABAP ritual for the purpose of self growth. We don't have to ignore ourselves. We have to understand we have to believe on our potential. Never let our self esteem and self confidence down. We have to keep it up. Be competent in the marketplace, and that is possible by getting mastery in the interview questions and answer. Be have a strong fundamentals, immerse into the SAP backend knowledge, help and contribution. We are supposed to help to each other, and supposed to contribute to we are supposed to contribute towards community from where we are getting so many stuff. Health is very important. We have to take care of our health very seriously, then only all these things is possible to achieve. Some affirmation we take on daily basis: never ignore easy and frequently asked questions, have good command on the niche question, use intelligently the social media, declutter the digital space, turn off the unnecessary notification which disturbs time to time, and lower our energy. Soft skill is very much important than the technical skill. Helping and contributing to society is the key for success. Health, physical and mental, both health is very important. Physical health, do yoga, walking, gym, marathon, game, etc. For the mental health, pranayama, meditation, spiritual practices, right? All these things is very much important. So with this information, let's go and revise what we have learned in our last class, and then we will see the new stuff today. So we have seen yesterday from here. Okay. No, yesterday was 23rd. Let me open this. Yeah. So from here we have seen yesterday. What is SQL script? We understood in detail what is SQL script. It's another powerful way of code push down, and it consists of, it's an extension to the open SQL, right? Here you can see that SQL script is a collection of extension to the structured query language, right? And these extension include data extension, functional extension, and procedural extension, right? Here, then we saw the difference between AMDP and new OpenSQL, right? Then we saw some another way of defining the SQL script, right? To provide the extra power, we use the scripting language, right? So some extra way how we can define the SQL script. Then after, what is the difference between normal programming language and script based programming language? So the main difference we have understood, it uses the compiler. The normal programming language uses the compiler, whereas the script programming language uses the interpreter. Script based programming language are dependent languages, whereas the normal programming language like C, C++, Java, .NET, these all are the independent programming language, right? Again, one another definition, why another question, why HANA SQL script? This is one important question. Why HANA SQL script? Why not OpenSQL, right? Why not information model? We understood in detail why we are going towards the SQL script, not information model, and now not you know uh, sticking with OpenSQL. So we understood the importance of HANA SQL script, that we can write complex business logic, right? We can debug the SQL script. So with information model, it was not possible, right? So some drawback, due to the various drawback with the information model, right? Due to the limitation of the OpenSQL, we were not going always with this open SQL and information model. Instead, we are going with AMDP. We are going with the SQL script, right? And AMDP is based on the SQL script. So here our main focus is SQL script. Later we will go to the AMDP. Okay, fine. Here one another question over here, the same question, but the answer we can define in a different way. Define SQL script and what are the types of SQL statement. It is a collection of extension to the SQL. It provides the extra power to the database to write flexible logic, right? And SQL statement is of two types. The one is the declarative statement and the second one is the imperative statement, right? Now we are having over here some example how the parallel processing work, how the parallelization work in the SQL script. Here we have seen with the help of an example. And also we discussed one question yesterday that what is the rule when HANA comes out from the parallelization mode, right? So rule for when the HANA comes out from the parallelization mode, the first one is the when it encounters any imperative logic. Second, locally scalar parameter and variables are used in container, right? And if you don't assign the value which you are getting from the database table to the left variable. So these are the rules when it's going to come out from the, you know, parallelization mode. What is the SQL script variable? There are three types of SQL script variables: scalar type, table type, and array. Right. So this was the last topic which we have discussed yesterday. We have seen some primitive data type as well. Right. Now, today we are going to discuss what is containers. This question we are going to discuss. What is containers? Right. What is containers in SQL script? So whenever you are going to write the code in SQL script, you are going to write the code in container. You are not going to write somewhere else. You require a container where you can write the code. Okay, so the very simple answer, it is a block in which we write the SQL script code over here. You can see this answer over here. It is a block in which we write the SQL script code. Okay, and we know that the SQL script code can have two types of logic. One is the declarative and another is the imperative logic, right? So SQL script consists of two kind of coding practices. One is the declarative logic and another is the imperative logic. Just we have seen over here, right? There are two types of SQL statement. One is the declarative statement and another is the imperative statement, right? Now, now what are the different types of container? What is containers? We understood containers is nothing but where we are going to write the SQL script code. Containers is nothing but where we are going to write the SQL script code. What are the different types of container? What are the different types of container? What are the different types of container? So different types of container. Here we have three types of container. One is known as anonymous blocks container. Another is known as procedure or stored procedure container. And the third one is known as the user defined functions. So these all are containers. One is the anonymous block container. Second one is known as the procedure or stored procedure container. And the third one is known as the user defined function container. Just right here in the chat box over here. Okay, right here in the chat box, what are the different types of container in SQL script? Okay, right here, the first one is the anonymous block. The second one is the procedure or a stored procedure. And the third one right over there, the user defined function right over here in the chat box first. Good. So here you can now see that, here you can now see that in anonymous block, this is the this is the this is the syntax how we do in the anonymous block. For the anonymous block, it's going to start with do. Okay, it's going to start with do. You have the import parameter and you have the export parameter. Okay, and then in between begin and end, you are going to write the SQL script code. So this is the format for anonymous block. Okay, there is no name. Anonymous means what? There is no name. Container means what? Which contains, right? What contains? SQL script code contains. That's why its name is containers. Okay, that's why it's the name of containers. Three types of different containers. One container is without name. That without name container is known as anonymous block. Okay, because there is no name, you can see simply. So generally we use this anonymous block container for testing purposes. If we have to write some small piece of code where just we have to perform some testing, why to have the name and all? Just use and throw, use and throw. So just we'll write a code, we'll execute it, and we'll see whether it's working or not. And that's so for the testing purpose, generally we use the anonymous block. Second, create procedure. This is also known as, this the second one is also known as the stored procedure. Okay, the syntax for this one is, the syntax for this one we have, I have written over here. Second one is known as stored procedure, or simply procedure also people tell it procedure. So whenever someone is telling about the procedure, we are supposed to understand they are talking about a stored procedure. Why this name is stored procedure? The name over here, if you focus, is stored. That means the meaning of that means the procedure, the routine, the code, the container in which you have written the code can be stored inside the database. So if someone is stored inside the database, certainly it requires some name, right? And if someone is there with a name stored, you will be able to reuse it, right? So that's the benefit of a stored procedure. That's the biggest benefit of the stored procedure. And if someone is already compiled, interpreted, syntax check, everything is done and put inside the database, right, that is going to be efficient because already it's there in the bytecode, right? Instead of so here interpreter comes into the picture, right? Here in the scripting language, interpreter interpret the language and put into the bytecode. Okay, into the uh, into the language which is very close to the machine, right? So it will put into that, and when we are going to call the stored procedure, it's going to be very fast, right? So that's why the stored procedure is fast because it's there in the interpreted format. It's already converted into the into very into the language, into the bytecode language, which is very close to the machine language, right? Which is very close to the machine. And that's when you are going to call the stored procedure, it's going to be fast. The syntax for a stored procedure is this one, the create procedure. This is how you'll have to write create procedure. Then the name of the procedure you'll have to give. Okay, then the procedure. So procedure you can compare with a function module. Okay, in ABAP you can compare with the function module. In function module you have the import parameter, right? Export parameter. So here you can see also, here also you have the import parameter. This is the import parameter one, and here you can give the type. It can be a table type or it can be a structure. Okay, or it can be a a scalar variable like integer, character, like that it can be. Okay, here the second parameter, parameter 2. Again, for this parameter 2 you can define the type. We'll see one example in detail, right? Then you have the output parameter. Then you have the language. You have to give this language SQL script. Okay, you'll have to mention language SQL script. Then the default schema. If you want to mention the default schema, you'll have to give the default schema. However, these all are optional. It is not necessary to give. It is not mandatory. The mandatory thing is create procedure and procedure name. This in, out, default, language, read SQL, these all are optional. Okay, these all are optional, which I have just highlighted over here. These all are optional. This begin and end is compulsory. This begin and end, this begin and end is compulsory. In begin and end, you will have to write the SQL script code, some select query, some if else, or whatever the SQL script you want to write, you can write. Okay, so the mandatory part is a create procedure, the name of the procedure, and then this begin and end. Okay, what's the use of this in for importing parameter? What's the use for out? Out is for exporting parameter. What is the use for language SQL script? Just to tell that it's a SQL script language we are going to use. What's the use of default schema? Whenever you are going to put the select query inside the SQL script code, and the table which you are going to use, that will be considered from the schema which you are using over here. So you don't have to prefixed the name of the schema with the table. That's the benefit of this default schema. Okay, so the select query where you are using the table, that will be considered from this default schema if you are using this one. If you're not using this one, you have to explicitly mention the name of the schema. Okay, the one who have written the code in the SQL script, they will be able to relate what I am telling over here. Okay. Reads SQL data. This is for the purpose of putting the code into parallelization mode. Okay. This is for the purpose of putting the code into parallelization mode. Okay. And the code you are going to write between begin and end. Okay. So when your code can be put into the parallelization mode, when you are going to use here only the declarative logic, only the select statement if you're going to use, then the code will walk into the parallelization mode. And if you have used this reads SQL data, okay, then only. Another is user defined function. The second one, you know, the second one is the stored procedure, and third one is the user defined function. Okay, so the syntax for this one is user defined function. Okay, user defined function. Harkesh is asking some question. Let me unmute himself. Yeah, Harkesh, I've unmuted you.
Yes, good morning, Pankaj.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah.
Yes, actually, you said that read SQL data. If we write this, only then it will go for the parallelization. If
Hmm,
we
hmm,
don't
hmm,
write
hmm.
this one, it will do the normal.
Yeah, it will. Then the database will decide like what it has to do. You know.
Okay, means if there is only a select statement, then it will go for automatically for parallelization.
Right, right. So if we're
And
going to put the read SQL like uh, explicit enforcement to go into the
parallelization.
parallelization mode. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now the third one is the user defined a function. For that, the syntax is, create function. Of course, you'll have to write the create function, the name of the function, import parameter and export parameter, then the language SQL script, default schema, read SQL data. The same, you can see the same way, right? Only the name over here, the function is, and again between begin and end, right? So whatever you have, the aggregate function, mean, max, right? So that is the standard function, that is the SAP uh, uh, like SAP HANA given function. But if you want to create your own function, that is also possible, right? That is also possible. You'll see some example in another slides. Okay, what is the important rules to remember? This is one question. What is the important rules to remember while doing the SQL script programming? Okay, what is the important rules to remember while doing the SQL script programming? Below important rules to remember while doing the SQL script programming. The first one, when we declare a variable, it is automatically initialized with null value. Okay. Whenever you are going to declare a variable in SQL script, it is going to be automatically initialized with null variable. So to avoid any issue, we should have to initialize explicitly because there is no meaning of null. If we're going to something add, if we're going to null means null, there is no meaning of null. In fact, null is undefined. Okay, so if some variable you have defined in SQL script, and if you have not initialized with any value, and later if you're going to add x plus 5, okay, so simply if you write over here, declare declare x int integer. If you simply write like this, and if you write x plus 5, then actually it will go into error. Okay, it will not produce the result because this x is initialized with null, and there is no meaning of null in fact. Okay, so you'll have to write over here 0 like this, declare x integer equal to 0. That means that means now value of x has been initialized with 0. So 0 plus 5, it's going to give you 5. Okay, so that's the meaning actually. The first point is telling you must have to initialize the value explicitly so that you will get the correct result, or you will not get the error. Okay, if we are going to use any variable as a reference variable, then need to be used with this one. So for example, over here, in SQL script, we write the select, select a star from internal table. So suppose if you have some internal table it underscore mara, in this it underscore mara, you have let's suppose some 5 fields or 4 fields, right? And again, from this it underscore mara, you want to fetch some value and put into some another table, another temporary table, let's suppose it underscore temp. So if you are going to write this query, you can see that you are taking the reference of existing internal table it underscore mara. So just to let know the SQL script interpreter that you are using the existing internal table as a reference variable, you will have to make sure that you are using the colon over here. See, I'm using the colon. So it should be like that. Okay, so if you are going to use the existing variable as a reference, okay, this is one scenario. There can be multiple scenario. Okay, there can be multiple scenario. So for that purpose, in fact, select a star from it underscore mara, will have to write. So that's the meaning of the second point, which I'm discussing over here. The third point, it is not case sensitive language. Which one is not case sensitive language? SQL script is not a case sensitive language. Okay. Every statement must be ended with semicolon. Here in in uh, in in SQL script, every statement is going to be end with, every statement is going to be end with semicolon. Fine. So these are the 4 rules it is we are having over here. The 4 rules we are having over here. What is a stored procedure? So a stored procedure, what is a stored procedure? Just we understood what is the stored procedure, the procedure which is stored inside the database, right? So here you can see what is a stored procedure. Answer is procedures are pre-compiled containers with name. So stored procedure are nothing but stored procedures are nothing but stored procedure are nothing but this second one procedure can be called inside the another procedure. Okay, So this is the main actually. A stored procedure are nothing but procedures are, but pros- but stored procedures are nothing but procedures. It's quite confusing. Let me correct in a better way. Stored procedures are nothing but pre-compiled containers with name. Okay. So stored procedures are nothing but pre-compiled containers with name. Second point about the stored procedure is that one procedure can be called inside the another procedure. Okay. Someone Jitendra is raising hand. Just let me unmute him. Yeah, Jitendra, please go ahead.
Hi Pankaj, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Jitendra. Please tell. Yeah.
Pankaj, I have one question. Like
Mhm.
this procedures and function both has these importing and exporting parameter, and also we write the SQL script inside both of these things.
Mhm.
What is the difference between procedures and functions?
Hmm. You can we will see that one in more detail, but the
Oh,
some more see in function, if you see the aggregate function, right? So how we use the aggregate function? We use the aggregate function in the select query, right? So in the same way, you can use the user defined function in the select query. Okay. So we are having some certain differences we'll see in the later slides. Let's go step by step. It is there in the next slides. What's the difference between user defined function and stored procedure? Fine. So what is a stored procedure? Just we understood what is the stored procedure. A stored procedure is nothing but the pre-compiled containers with name, right? And one procedure can be called from the another procedure. What is the syntax for creating the procedure? So this is the answer, right? We have just seen. Just go through these slides. One important point over here I would like to discuss. Sometimes what happens, if you have already a procedure created in your database, and if you want to create once again the same procedure, it will give the error. So to avoid that error, what you can use or replace statement. Okay, create or replace. So if already you have one procedure created, so suppose you have created one procedure name, let's suppose, uh, calculate price. Let's suppose you have one procedure and that procedure name is calculate price. Again, you are going to create the same procedure, calculate price, right? Again, if you're going to compile this procedure once again, suppose you wanted to you did some modification between begin and end, some code you have modified and you wanted to run once again this procedure in order to create the stored procedure, then it will give you the error. It will tell that it is already present. So in order to avoid such kind of scenario, what we can do, we can use this create or replace. Means if it is already there, just replace with the new code. Okay, good. Now we have some examples over here. Some give some examples of the stored procedure. This, just I'm writing this question. Give some, not VVI question. Okay, just for knowledge purpose. Give some example for a stored procedure. So here we have. You can just see over here, create or replace, right? Create or replace procedure, name of the procedure over here, import parameter, to import parameter, integer x integer, integer y integer, then output parameter, result, the name of the output parameter is result, and here we have the integer, right? Then language SQL script, default schema SAP HANA DB, reads SQL data just to put into the parallelization mode as begin and end. So result equal to x plus y. So just this, what it will do, it will just take the value X and Y and it will add it up and pass the value into the result. So just to add two values and putting into the export parameter, this is the code what you will have to write. So very simple example over here. How to call a procedure. So suppose if you want to test your procedure, how you can test, or suppose if you want to, you know, call this procedure in your program, right? Suppose if you want to call this procedure in your another procedure, or if you want to test it, how you can do. So this is the first method. Okay, directly you can hard code the value over here. You can see that int x, importing parameter x, importing parameter y, and exporting parameter out is there. So 20 and 10 you can pass by hard coding the value, and for output you don't know the result, so you can pass the question mark. You can just pass the placeholder question mark. This is the first method. Directly you can pass the constant value. Another, you can pass the question mark and question mark. You can pass the placeholder directly. Okay, so if you are going to pass the placeholder directly, you can, you know, give any kind of value 10, 20, 30, and it's going to give you the result. So there are two ways of testing. Okay, so you need to understand it in the practical mode. Here it will not make more sense, but just for interview questions and answer, I'm making you revise. If you know already, you might be able to, you know, remember this one. Give one example of if else in procedure, right? So you can see that here you have the if and else. If modulus function we are using over here, x2 equals to 0, then it's going to be even. Just go through this, you know, you will understand. Another, give one example of while loop. We have this example of while loop, how we can write the code for while loop in this, you know. So this is how we write the code. This is how inside the while and you know, end while actually. Okay, so like that, inside the while and end while we are going to write this. Okay, and this is, you know, this is not case sensitive. Begin you can write in a small also, there is no problem. Okay, here this is also case, this is not a case sensitive. So this is how you can write it over here. Okay, I'm getting some question over here. uh, Adi is asking, information view is not sufficient, then we can go for procedure to write complex logic after is nothing but replace. I'm not getting your question, Adi, what you are trying to tell over here. Let me unmute you and just go ahead and ask your question if you are willing to discuss something. I have unmuted you. Yeah,
Hi Pankaj,
yeah.
alternative, but suppose I have created one name of the procedure. That
Mm-hmm.
one if you want to rename, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But here you have mentioned the drop procedure while loop, but here we need to use the keyword is a drop, right?
Yeah, so suppose if you want to rename that procedure, okay? Suppose if you want to rename that procedure, so what you can do, you can drop that procedure first, and then you can create again with the same content another procedure. Okay, so this is what we can do. So here, give an example of while loop we have over here. The same, this is going to be everywhere same. Create, alter. If you want to alter some procedure, right? Create or replace. Just to go and check with this. Create, alter, create or replace. What's the difference between alter and create or replace? We'll see this. Okay. This is what you have. Go through the slides. I will share the slides. Right. Fill that form. There I will. There I will. You know, share the slides. Give an example for for loop. So here, this is the example for for loop. So just focus over here. This is the first few syntax is going to be same. Okay, so this is for, you know, anonymous block. You can see anonymous block is going to be a starter with do. So here one example is for loop with anonymous block. Okay, this is for a stored procedure. You can see here we are starting with create, right? Create or alter or create or replace. So this is for a stored procedure. Here, this for example we have taken in anonymous block. We can take this example in a stored procedure as well, anywhere. Okay. Another question over here, sometimes if we're going to simply copy and paste your SQL script code, it will show you sometimes error. For example, if you are going to copy from some, internet blog or somewhere, sometimes it will give you the error. So one thing, one checkpoint, what you can do that, copy and paste. Just I'm giving these tips, not an interview question or something like that. So just you can put in the notepad, okay, and just search for the space. If some space is there, remove that space, because that space is not understood by, the editor where we write the code. Okay, so at least when I was taking the last ABAP or HANA batch, such kind of problem we used to face. Okay, so you have to make sure that you remove the space from there. Okay, here you can see that a small space, it was creating a lot of problem. And this I didn't copy and paste from the internet. Actually what I did that, uh, i I created one program in this SQL script editor, and I copied and put into the OneNote. Here in this my OneNote, I have pasted that one, and again somehow in OneNote one space was there, means I put some space by mistake, I don't know. And again when I tried to copy from there and paste over there, and I was trying lot, I was not able to run that one. It was giving such kind of error, you can see over here, right? So it was a very big headache, and then after a lot of effort we could realize that, oh, one space is there. Okay, so this is just my experience I shared with you. So sometimes if you get such kind of error which you are not able to identify, look for a space. A space, it is not visible over there, just you'll have to use the right arrow or left arrow. If you're going to use the left arrow or right arrow, it will just move from here and there. If a space will be there, so you'll have to remove that space. It will solve the problem. Okay, in SQL script, what are the table type? Okay, how we can create the table type, how to create the table type in SQL script, right? So in ABAP, you know how to create the table type, right? Here we are going to use the syntax. Here we don't have SC11, right? Here we are going to uh, create in the SQL script editor itself. Okay, so the question over here, what are the ways to create the table type? So table type, why we use? To create the internal table. With reference of table type, we can create the internal table, right? So for that purpose, we require a table type. So how to create the table type in SQL script? This is one way how to create. Globally, if you want to create one table type, create type as table. This is the syntax. Okay, and suppose implicitly in the procedure itself, if you want to create, this is the syntax. Go and create one, you know, a procedure. It will be more clear. Okay, here explaining this stuff will not help more. Okay, once you create, then it will help you. Here, how to put the data inside an internal table. This is how we put. Okay, how to populate a data inside an internal table. How to populate the data inside a internal table. Okay, so this is a one way how we can populate the data inside the internal table. SQL exception, how to handle SQL exception in SQL script. This can be one question, right? How to handle SQL exception in the SQL script. Okay, this is how declare exit handler for exception. If you remember this one, now you will be able to handle the SQL exception. This is the syntax we use. Here one complete example we have, right? So just go through this example, or let me try to explain it. Okay. Here, create or replace procedure. This is the name of the procedure we have. Import parameter X and import parameter Y. Output parameter is result over here. The For import parameter, X is of type integer, Y is of type integer, and for output parameter result is again of type integer, right? Now, suppose you are going to divide Y by X, and you know that we are having the very famous exception, right? If something is going to be divided by 0, it will go into the error, right? That is non-handleable scenario. That is non-handleable scenario. That's where in mathematics limit and all comes into the picture, right? So Y divided by X. So if X is 0, it will go into dump. So to handle that scenario, here we have declare exit handler for SQL exception. Select please provide non-zero value for first parameter, and then as custom error, what custom error you want to show, this one SQL error code as a standard code, and SQL error message as a standard message from dummy. You'll have to write this statement, and then after you'll have to use this statement. Then it will not go into dump, it will give you the meaningful message. Okay, this two, a standard code and a standard message, it will give you, and it will not go into dump. If you write declare exit handler for exception, then you'll have to write this select statement. If you want to throw the message, you know, this much is important, this much is important, it will not go into dump. But if you want to give some meaningful message, you know, you'll have to give this, select this one as custom error from dummy. Okay. This is not mandatory, this is not mandatory. Mandatory is this much, declare exit handler for this. But if you want to give some message, you'll have to write this extra statement. Hope it's clear. What is db cursor? What is db cursor? What is db cursor? This we'll discuss tomorrow, what is db cursor. And uh, so tomorrow we are going to discuss this one, about this db cursor. So most of the things today what we discussed, not a VBA question or something like that, just for knowledge point of view, you know, for knowledge purpose. You don't have to bother more if you are preparing for interview, from interview point of view. But it's always better, like if you know, you don't know the interviewer mind. However, these are the question which we have discussed over here. You know, these are not, none of the question over here is the VBA or something like that. You know, I have never come across someone asking that, you know, what are how we can create the table types. But just for knowledge point of view, just for, you know, understanding point of view, you can just refer. Okay. Tomorrow we'll see what is db cursor, then example of db cursor we have over here, some example. We'll see example of array. Then, you know, here we have the example of array once again, alter procedure and all, you know. So how to put the record into internal table. Suppose if you have some internal table uh, you are using in SQL script, how to put the value inside the internal table. So that we will discuss. Not, these are not the VBA question, however, but it's better if you know. Okay. So that's why here, uh, here like similar to loop at itab into work area, if you want to achieve same thing into the SQL script, how to do that one. So this is one scenario, right? We'll discuss this one, how, what are the db system variable, this also we'll discuss. Okay. What is the user defined function. So maybe tomorrow till 150 slides we are going to discuss. So be here tomorrow to discuss all these things, a kind of revision we are doing over here, right? And if you are looking for complete course, subscribe to my complete course. There will be around 60 hours of extensive content, explained everything in very much detail, right? You can just contact me personally if you are interested. And here I'm getting some question, let me see this question. Okay. Adi, I'm going to unmute you. I'm not getting your question. What's your question is? Just tell over here your question if you have any question.
Table type we can create the two ways, right? One is a coding format, one is a GUI format. Within the HANA database level, there is one graphical user interface for format is there. That is I'm trying to say.
Graphical user interface,
Like like
table type.
like how we are going to creating a table in our data dictionary. The same
Uh,
approach is available in the SQL database level. The SQL editor level, we have one option.
okay, I have not used that one. There might be, but I have been creating at global level and in program level. And in whenever I was creating, I was using the code. Using the code only, I was able to create in the SQL script this code. Uh,
I mean, there only you can see. Suppose
uh,
you have a HANA database, right? Okay,
mm,
you can create the database.
mm.
The package level, right click, there you can see that option. The right side, there are two options are there.
Okay, okay. So we can use that one. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. Thanks for this information. I was not knowing this one. Thanks a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, anything else? If someone gives wants to give some input over here, please feel free to give the input and share your knowledge over here. This is an open platform over where anyone can share the knowledge within us, right? So please feel free to share. Like Adi has shared wonderful knowledge I was not knowing about, and many of you might not be knowing about this, that we have the graphical editor tool same as it is there in AC11. We can use that one, so just we need to go and explore that one, right? So similarly, if you have some another step which you want to share over here, feel free to share, right? I have, you know, you have the authorization to unmute yourself. I have given you, you can unmute yourself and just feel free to share. Okay, anyone else over here would like to share some knowledge, something, most welcome. Ashok, GD, Hakesh, Jayant, Jitendra, Keshankar, Om, Rahul, Rajesh, Sanchari, Shivaji, anyone, Venkat, Vishal, Sudhir. If you want to share anything, please feel free to share. Okay, fine, fine, good. So now let's do one thing. Let's stop our session over here, and we will meet tomorrow. But before going, I would just fill this form and take participation in the interview. Okay, today we have the Sunday and we have time. You can have the participation. So don't go from here. Participate in this interview. Just give me a time. I'm sharing this form over here, and take the interview, give the interview, help to the fresher who is preparing for the interview. Okay, and get help from the others. So just give me a second. Mm, so you can, yeah, GD, you can unmute yourself. I have, you can unmute yourself and you can discuss. Please go ahead, GD. Your name is showing GD. I don't know your actual name. You know. I have unmuted you. Yeah, I have unmuted you. You can just go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I
Mm-hmm.
joined your session from today only,
Mm-hmm.
and I never worked on HANA, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
not aware of SQL script and these things much. So I wanted
Yeah,
to
no
know how.
problem. So
Yeah,
here, this interview, actually, you were talking in terms of interview, right?
no, no.
Uh-huh.
Actually, how I can start working on this? I never worked on HANA. I'm currently working on Core ABAP 7.4 system. So
Okay.
if I want to use this syntax
Mm.
and I want to start learning it from my end only, so how I
Mm-hmm.
can start it? Can I use these syntax in 7.4 system?
Just a second. Just give me 1 second, and we'll discuss this question. I'm preparing one form,
Okay.
and after sharing this form. I will discuss
If
that.
you want to create any SQL script, we need a HANA database. Okay,
I think the
within
backend is set HANA only for 7.4
within
from my
the
client.
within the Eclipse, we have a two options is there. One is ABAP perspective, one is a modular perspective. Okay, there we need to add in a modular perspective, we need to add our database. There you can write this SQL script.
Okay, okay. And how we can use this SQL scripts? Like I saw that we can
There
use call
in a,
and
1 minute. There we have a option is there in a HANA perspective. One SQL editor is there.
okay,
Okay, there you can write your code, whatever you want to. If you want to create, like, do you remember in your graduation, in the database server, you are going to creating a table procedures, right? Do you
yes, yes,
remember we are working in a project in our graduation?
yeah, yeah.
The same way we are going to do here in
Okay,
HANA
okay.
part.
Okay, and if I compare it with the current our R3 system, how I can relate it with the normal R3 system things like the procedure SQL, these procedures, I can compare it with the subroutines that we create in a normal report
No,
or
once you create a procedure in the HANA database, purely HANA database.
yeah.
Okay, that one if you want to continue from your above side.
Okay, okay, okay. So
Here,
like
okay, meaning, okay, ANA perspective to above perspective, there is one proxy is there again. That is a procedure proxy.
okay, okay,
Okay, from above side, we have a in Eclipse only this option also is available. Eclipse or ANA Studio. There we have a one database procedure proxy is there in above perspective. There you can consume it.
okay, okay. So we write certain line of codes into these procedures and we call it whenever we like, just like subroutines we already created for modularization,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
create it in this perspective and we call it in our ABAP perspective in reports or something of that sort.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, okay, okay.
But you
Understood.
cannot change it. You cannot change it in the above side. Okay,
Yes,
again,
yes,
if you want to
understood.
change it in the ANA perspective level only, you need to change it.
Okay, okay. We can just call it in our ABAP perspective and we use it whenever we like it.
Yes, yes, yes. Whenever you want, you
Okay,
can. But
okay, okay.
transporting both you need to control it. That is a yesterday session. The Pankaj has explained. I mean the
Okay.
transporting related.
Okay, okay. And do we have any agenda already created? Like, if I can see which session was covered on which day, and I can go and see the recording if it is uploaded somewhere, and
Uh,
what we are going to cover in the future on which day.
that one Pankaj only to you. Here, just I'm also participant.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
helping you do this your question.
okay, okay,
Okay, okay, fine. So just fill this form, just fill this form, and meanwhile, I will give the answer of GD. What's your good name, GD?
I think you know me personally. I'm Gaurav Daswani. I was with you in Sobra Styria.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Hi, Gaurav. How are you?
I'm fine.
Okay, okay.
The world is very small and it's
Right, right, right. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I know you. I know you. You taught me how to do, investment in mutual fund.
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yes. S- So you are currently in NTT data, right?
No,
Sorry,
no.
yes, technology.
I'm with Accenture.
Okay, 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 okay. Good. So here, actually, Gaurav, what we are doing that we are practicing every day, and there is no predefined schedule or something like that, like which what I'm going to cover. But 7 to 8 questions generally we cover every day, and in ABAP on HANA, we have covered till 136 slides. Actually, I provide the ABAP on HANA training, and this PPT is from that training. And that PPT I'm converting into the questions and answer mode so that it will be helpful for others and who has already been my student over there. So I'm helping them to also to prepare the interview questions and answer who has already taken my courses. So
Okay,
they
okay.
were looking some kind of support, and so I thought, let me, instead of supporting to my students only, why not to support everyone who is preparing for the interview questions and answer. Okay.
Okay.
So here actually it is around 218 slides, let me check till where we have the content. Yeah, so data DCL. Yeah, so 266 six slides, like covering till CDS, AMDP, IDA. All right. So we are going to cover till here all this, and I'm going to put all these slides into the form of questions and answer. Means the content we are going to represent in form of questions and answer, and whatever the VVI questions which I came across through my colleagues, through my students, I just keep on collecting those questions, and wherever I find the VVI question that is there, I mark that one as a VVI question. For example, over here, if you go from beginning, you know, here you have like, what is the difference between row storage and column storage? This is the VBA question. You can't ignore this question.
Yeah.
That, yeah. So this like, what is a sidecar scenario? You can ignore this one. If you want to learn, just learn or just ignore. Not a problem. Here again the VBA. What is code push down? What is the code to data paradigm? Right? What is the top down approach of coding? So this is a VBA question. You have to give this, like you have to give more attention. Okay. So here again we have the VBA question, right? This one, what is the difference between S4 HANA on premise and S4 HANA on cloud? Many times my friends, my colleagues, my students have come across such question. So based upon those experience, I have prepared, like I'm marking the questions as a VVI, or some question also we have categorized like VI, right? Some many a times interviewer ask what are the important feature of HANA. Okay, not very frequently, but this also sometimes have been asked. Okay,
Okay.
what are the different code push down technique and which sequence? So again, this is a VBA question, right? I just forgot to mark it. This is again a VBA question. So such kind of question, like which is a VBA, I'm just labeling that with the VBA question. Apart from that, we are also considering the general question, general information question. We are not simply focusing on VBA, but we are just marking over there. See, this can be a very very VBA question, right? What interface you are going to use in order to make your class as a AMDP class, right? So this is again a VBA question, IF underscore AMDP underscore marker underscore HDV, undoubtedly VBA question. So when will come, we will mark this one as a VBA question.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so there is nothing, there is no schedule defined, but here what we are doing, that we are practicing for ABAP, ABAP on HANA, OPS ABAP, ALE, IDOCS workflow, in which I feel I'm good. That here we are going to discuss. If someone is good here, like in another like UI5, they can take it. Is an open platform, anyone can do. If just they have to show their plan to me how they are going to present, because I am not good in UI5, so I won't be able to do that one.
Okay.
So if someone is like willing to do that one, or if someone is competent in some another technology like CPI or SAP Analytics Cloud, everyone is welcome over here. So this is a platform where we are going to practice everyday interview questions and answer. And uh, we are going to certainly learn something every day. Some important stuff. So this
Yes.
is, yeah, due for that. Okay. And the
Okay.
recorded session, gradually I will upload. I'm not getting the time. I actually need someone help. If someone is over here to help me, to upload, because simply by uploading it will not help. We have to, you know write some description, like what we have covered. So because I'm not getting time, I'm not putting, but gradually I will put all those videos of this ABAP ritual on the YouTube. Okay,
Okay.
when I will get the time. Okay, so this is the thing. Anything else, Gaurav?
No, no, nothing else. I would say you are doing really a great job. It's
Yeah,
really
thanks very much.
commendable that you have been putting
Thanks.
this much of time.
Yes, yes, because I realize that it is, for me also it is beneficial, because I will come in contact with more and more students, more and more professional, because I'm willing to have my career in this training field mostly. You know.
Okay.
So I'm going to come in future. like fully in training field, and that's where a kind of base also I'm preparing for myself. So it's a both way help, win-win situation. Anything else if someone is willing to discuss? Mm. Fine then. Have you filled this form? I just forgot while talking. Please fill this form. It's important. I've just, fill the form I've shared here in the chat box. So only her case and Om Prakash, Sanchari, Adi. Gaurav fill this form, and who else over here? Jayant, Jitendra, Rajesh, fill this form, and you can ask the question, whatever you know the question you can ask. There is nothing like, you have to ask from this PPT only, or so you can ask any, just we have to practice every day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes like that. Okay, Sudhir, Venkat, fill the form fast. Sudhir. So if you are here, fill the form. Okay, fill the form fast. I'm expecting that you are going to fill the form. That's why you are here. So her case, you please take interview of Jitendra. Here we have the Jitendra phone number. Om, you take interview of Gaurav. This is the Gaurav phone number here. So on WhatsApp you can contact. Sanchari. Adi, please take interview of Sanchari. Okay, so this is a Sanchari phone number, and okay, Sudhir also is here. So Jayant, you just please help. Just take interview of Sudhir. Jayant, you have more experience, right?
Pankaj, I'm not able to see his phone number.
Oh, you are not able to see this PPT, right?
No, I'm able to see only PPT only. Loop statement.
Sorry. Okay. Just a second. Yeah. So here actually here this number is there. Just take the screenshot, and from here, and once the interview is done, write there in that ABAP ritual group that you have done the interview and give the feedback. So from 24th, this is what we have today. These many people take the screenshot so that you will not miss the phone number. And if you're not able to see my screen or something like that, let me know so that I will check from my side, and I will make sure that you are able to see my screen. Okay, so here the phone number and all is there. Here for her case is supposed to take interview of Jitendra. Om, please take for Gaurav. uh, Here, now Gaurav is here, that's fine. For Adi, who is going to take your interview, or you are going to take someone's interview?
You can tell me from whom I can take. No problem.
I, I have told some name, right? I just missed.
I
I
think.
think Jitendra is going to take your interview, right? Adi?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jitendra, please take interview of Adi.
Actually, I think you have
Yeah.
assigned Jitendra. I will take the interview of Jitendra.
I have assigned already. Yeah, sorry. I have already assigned Jitendra. Um,
I will take
uh,
interview of Jitendra.
yeah, okay. I was patching Adi with whom? Adi with Gaurav, is it? No, Om Prakash is already done. Adi.
I think you can patch Jayant and Adi.
Jayant and Adi. Okay, then Sudhir will be left. Let me do one thing. Then I will take the interview of Jayant, Adi, and Sudhir. So Sudhir, Adi, you take interview of Sudhir. Okay, Adi will be
Uh,
taking interview of Sudhir.
Pankaj, can you please correct my number? It's 98276 49371 instead of 59371.
Okay, okay, just a second. I'm correcting that one. Yeah, just tell me from beginning 9827
6
276
49
49
371.
371.
Yeah,
Okay. 9827649371. So this is
yeah.
the correct number of Gaurav. So please take the screenshot of this number and I'm going to call to Jayant. Okay. Fine, fine, fine. Then thank you so much for attending the session. Let's wrap up with this and we'll meet tomorrow by the same time, 7:30. And after taking the interview, just write there in the group that you have done with the interview and what is the feedback. Okay, with the feedback. Fine then, bye bye. Have a nice day. Take care.
Okay.